All right, everyone, a lot of people are getting more jittery than I think they probably should with regards to the Dow. They're talking about the stock market. Oh, it's poised for a third day of steep losses. Yeah, part of that is because of the fact that people are looking at the previous losses, and it's doing that steamroll thing that it sometimes happens where you have one problem and then people anticipate more problems, and really it's that anticipation that causes the problems. This could be an eve of another great collapse. Oh, if it collapses down fully at the same time, no bubble has burst, so I wouldn't expect it does that. Now, if that were to happen, though, yeah, it'd be another Great Depression, but I don't think we have to worry about that quite yet. But I will tell you what the cause is. A lot of people are pretending, and it is pretend, that this is Trump's fault as the result of his tax plan proposals. Absolutely false. His tax plan should inject more confidence because it's saying, hey, businesses will pay less taxes, especially small businesses. Some of the lower level of the investment class, they should be flooding the stock market with money and have been, knowing full well that this was the kind of tax proposal he was going to implement anyway. They've known that for a year. He already gave the basic outline almost a year ago, so it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. That hasn't changed. It's a zero-sum game. I'll tell you what did change, though. Here's my theory. It's all based on the FISA memo. Because people who are competent, who are intelligent, they're sitting there trying to figure out whether there will be more or less instability in the near future, whether something is going to rise or fall, and they base their actions on that in hopes of speculating and making money. These people, well, not necessarily the nicest people in the world, they are intelligent. They're high functioning when it comes to analyzing risk and reward. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business. They certainly wouldn't be making large sums of money, and they hopefully wouldn't be tasked with investing others' money either, which they sometimes are. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but for the most part, it's okay. I'll tell you what they're worried about. The uncertainty is what will kill sort of a wave of investment. Uncertainty, not knowing the future. Not knowing is worse than knowing and what you know being slightly negative. You'd rather have a known quantity that's a little bit bad than an unknown quantity that could be far worse. The FISA memo, that's what this is all about. They're looking, and then I think they're taking the same reading of the situation that I have. While it is likely that it doesn't cause any significant instability, there is now a chance, especially with this second steel dossier that I'm going to talk about later, that shit is going to hit the fan real hard in DC, and it's going to turn the entire political system of this country topsy-turvy. If that occurs, social alienation on either the left or right, or possibly both, will incline. There will be violence, unfortunately. There will certainly be protests and strikes and instability. And that's not good for investment. It's not good for business. Therefore, a lot of them are dumping their stuff. Then why do you think Trump comes out and makes a tax plan speech? The entire legacy media fixates on that and says, well, this is why the stocks are down. Obviously, Wall Street doesn't want Trump to cut taxes. We should raise them instead because Obama was so great for jobs. No, he wasn't. That's totally wrong. It's the opposite of reality. His tax plan is very well received, and everyone already knew basically what was going to be in it. Couldn't possibly be the result of that. In the same 24-hour news cycle, we get the revelation that there's a second steel dossier. That's the reason why. The first hit was the first Fusion GPS dossier. The stock market declines. It then starts to eke back up and stagnate. It was just a little correction. Now we've got tales that there's a second one, and they don't know what it contains, but they suspect it's bad because what the claim is that this dossier shows involvement by Obama's State Department. If that is actually the case, if there's significant enough evidence to believe that that's true, and I don't have any reason to doubt it, we're about to see political shit hitting the fan. Yeah, the stock market's going to take a steep decline after that. It's just going to happen. Because then people are in a situation where they have these two emerging war camps, basically, fighting each other domestically, and they're not even necessarily sure which one the good guy is, if either, of course. That's going to make them nervous, yeah, but, and here's the big but, stop worrying too much about the Dow Jones. The fact that the stock market declines does not immediately and significantly impact Main Street. All other economic indicators are fine. Job creation is still high, it's higher. Wages have begun to rise. That's really good. You don't have what was the interest rate before at like some minuscule fraction that nobody can even calculate. That's no longer a problem. Every indicator other than the Dow Jones is just fine. Now, other markets around the world, here's the other thing. are falling as well. It's metastasized from the Dow Jones, I guess, to other markets like Shanghai and in Tokyo and everywhere else. That's actually, you should just sit back and enjoy it and laugh. Also, crypto is diving right now, but I still see all the crypto fans saying, well, you know, cost is down, so it's time to invest. And by the way, of course, there's something to be said for that. It's just, where do you think the bottom is? You know, of course, it could be at $2, in which case, if you get in now, you've lost a lot of money. But if the bottom is $1 lower than it already is, well, yeah, you did just fine. You chose the right time to get in, I suppose. Dangerous game. Never invest more than you're willing to lose completely. Essentially, if you don't have $10 to play around with, don't invest $10 in a stock or in a fraction of a Bitcoin or a bit of a Litecoin or Ethereum. Don't do that sort of thing. I look at the stock market, I'm totally unworried. I don't really care if it does collapse further. Here's one main reason why. I have more confidence in Donald Trump to handle such a situation than I would most people that could be in that position. I'm going to tell the honest truth here. If the economy does take a downturn, I want Trump to be the one managing that downturn and trying to stop it. But what did Obama do? Obama started throwing taxpayer money at private entities. That was his solution. I can't imagine a scenario in which Trump does that. I think he says, okay, fucking go bankrupt and we'll restructure you. I'll come in. I've got people that have the finesse to deal with it. And you'll be 10 times more efficient and, you know, no problem. Trump slashing the bureaucracy. Look, if we end up in a situation where an economic downturn means that the rate of government spending has no choice but to decline, or we get up to our eyeballs in debt even faster, he'll probably be the only one willing to cut a bunch of bureaucratic programs. This could be actually the cloud with quite a bit of silver lining. In fact, it'd be gold-gilded lining. That is indeed possible. That could be the case. But Trump, I think, would do fine, and I don't see any real reason to believe that it's going to continue to drop off. I could be wrong. Maybe the stock market goes to zero, you know, bigger than Great Depression, worldwide decline. Yeah, that could happen. It'd be a great happening now, wouldn't it? But really, what it is it ties into the dossier that we got. It ties into the steal. There's too much uncertainty right now. The investors were, before they were certain, they're like, we know what Trump's tax proposal will be. We know sort of, you know, the political climate. It's kind of strangulated, but he has a mandate at least on that. So they were happy. They're like, you know, nothing else matters. If the biggest problem you've got with your president is he might be racist, which isn't even true, you know, that's not going to spook the investors. They don't give a fuck what Angela Merkel thinks about the U.S. president. Ultimately, trade and other relations continue unabated. Nothing changes. There's no uncertainty there. We know what's happening. You know, the biggest uncertainty we've had so far is really with Russian relations or maybe North Korea. That didn't even affect the stock market. Nobody cared because Don was in charge. Now, you've got the Fusion dossier, and it looks like a former presidential candidate might actually face repercussions. Yeah, it's gonna bother them a little bit. It looks like Obama's State Department, you know, with Hillary Clinton, of course, involved there at the time, might have been involved in foreign intel gathering on domestic targets that was then fed back in order to fuck around with a presidential campaign. Oh, that would be really bad news. Now, that would be worse than the Fusion dossier. The worst reading I could get off the first Fusion dossier is mild compared to what this second one apparently pertains to. It's 10 times worse. It's hard to see how the situation could get worse. You know, is there going to be a third memo once that one is released in some form? They probably will release it too. By the way, I'm not sure if the Democrats have released their memo on the Fusion problem yet. I actually do think that we should have a right to read their memo as well. It'll be propaganda. It'll be probably a bunch of bullshit, but we still have a right to read their rebuttal to the Republicans fundamentally. That shouldn't be hidden from people. Just because House Intel is run by Republicans doesn't mean they should suppress the minority opinion. Let's read it anyway. It's probably dumb. Well, if it's dumb, you want people to read it, so stop trying to fucking cover everything up. It's the problem with the Fusion memo in the first place. The Democrats tried to cover it up. That's why we got so much confusion going on right now, and now it's affecting the economy. So do your fucking job. Do your job. That's about all. Peace out.